We have a very exciting second panel ready to go here. We've made a slight shift in our program. Matthias Machnig, the State Secretary for the Environment from Germany, had a problem with a plane and fog in Frankfurt earlier today, so he is not joining us. And Marcel Brenningmeier has very generously agreed to move his speech to be the final keynote speech at the end. And so we're going to go ahead with this important panel right now. We're now going to focus even more specifically on some of the policy opportunities that lie before us, and particularly focusing on some key parts of the world. We have with us here Satu Hassi from Finland, who is a member of the European Parliament and played a key role in the EU climate legislation that was passed just this last December. Satu is a member of the Worldwatch board. She has also in the past been a member of the Finnish Parliament and was for a time both environment and development minister from Finland, so has a wonderful background for working on these issues. Over on the far side here, Malini Mehra is the founder and CEO of the Center for Social Markets, an organization based both in India and in the United Kingdom. Malini is one of the really strong and fresh new voices on the climate issue in India, and has been, I think, very effective in the last few years in terms of mobilizing new thinking in India, communicating with the world as a whole, and has a rich background working mainly in the NGO sector. And then I have two Worldwatch colleagues that are with us today as well. Janet Sawin has been director of the Climate and Energy Program at Worldwatch, has a PhD in renewable energy policy. Not very many people can yet say that. Hopefully that will become a major PhD specialty in the future. And she is one of the preeminent global experts on renewable energy policy, which is one of the reasons that Janet was just elected to be a lead author on a new IPCC study that is going to look specifically at renewable energy policy. She is also the co-author of a chapter along with Bill Muma of Tufts on renewable energy and other low-carbon energy options in this year's book. I should mention that Malini Mehra was also a contributor to the report. And then last but not least, Yingling Liu is the China Program Manager at Worldwatch, a contributor to this year's book, and has been really instrumental in getting Worldwatch engaged with policymakers in this field in Beijing over the last few years, and has, I think, helped not only in terms of developing that set of relationships, but has really helped educate Worldwatch about how to be most effective in what is almost certainly at least the second most important country on this issue, if not soon to be the most important country. And let me first turn to you, Satu, if I can. Questions came up earlier regarding what is happening in the European Union, and there has been, of course, a lot of development very recently. I think development that most Americans are only vaguely familiar with. But could you fairly briefly bring us up to date in terms of the important recent developments in climate policy in Brussels?
Yes, yes. It's a pleasure. Thanks very much for inviting me to this panel. But can I first show some pictures about the European map to show that European Union is not what it used to be 10 years ago?
Yes. Who's manning the technology over here?
Yeah, because European Union used to be a club of rich Western.
It maybe take them a moment to get
okay.
the right material up.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just continue and we'll bring it up as soon as it's available.
Okay. Well, before we come to how European Union itself has changed, you already heard from the Danish Okay, here.
Okay.
Here. This is how European Union looked like before my country joined. It was a club of Western Europe. Most members were also, except Ireland, members of the military alliance NATO, allies of USA. The next slide shows how European Union changed very rapidly after the collapse of Iron Curtain. 3 countries, including mine, Finland, Sweden, and Austria, which were and still are militarily non-allied, were able to join after the end of the Cold War. But European Union was still a club of rich Western countries in Europe. And in the next slide, we see how the European Union changed in May 2004. The countries with brighter yellow are the new member countries, and the lighter yellow shade means candidate countries which are negotiating. But anyway, here the countries with brighter yellow are the 10 new member countries which during the Cold War belonged to the Eastern Bloc. So in a way, for me, this was the final end of the Second World War in Europe. And this also means that European Union is not anymore just a club of rich Western European countries. And the last slide shows that, can you please show the last of these map slides? Romania and Bulgaria joined 2 years ago. So now we have 12 countries which belong to the Eastern Bloc and whose economic development, of course, for many decades was slowed by the fact that they were part of the Eastern Bloc. Okay, that's about how European Union has changed. As the Danish State Secretary already told, there is a new climate legislation in the European Union. And the basis of this legislation was actually decided in March 2007, almost 2 years ago, in a summit by EU prime ministers, where they declared that EU is ready to reduce our emissions by 20% compared to 1990 levels by the year 2020, even unilaterally, and by 30% if there is an international agreement with other major players taking comparable targets. And this decision also said that European Union is going to raise the share of renewable energy from the present level, which is below 10%, to 20% by the same year, 2020. And that we are going to improve the energy efficiency by 20% also by the same year. And as part of this renewable energy effort, also renewable energy will be 10% of the energy of transport by 2020. And the legislation which we have now finalized is about how to do this in practice. We already have, since 2005, we have a cap and trade system for power sector and energy-intensive industries. But now we have reformed this cap and trade system, how it will continue from 2013 onwards.